Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Miller. And this is the Gaming Dialogue News. A warm welcome to all of our friends, fans, community members, participants, and everyone watching us on a variety of different platforms today. Thank you for joining us and thank you for being our very dedicated community members. Thank you for supporting our charitable fundraiser and all we do here for the charities that we are supporting and providing with a platform through which they will get greater exposure and greater support from everyone in our gaming community. So thank you for that, and thank you for your messages. I received a few in response to my gaming news yesterday, and also what we talked about during the last few sessions in view of the inclusions that would have come to Destiny. So we'll recap on all of this, and we'll talk about everything as expected. And thanks obviously for everyone for providing us with your support. I don't think we'd be able to do anything here on the channel, and certainly nothing as far as the charity fundraising is concerned without your assistance. So really very grateful, and I'm sure everybody who is working for Mind will be equally very, very grateful to everyone who participated. I received several messages from their HQ, and they were just, really happy to see that we were all indeed supporting the charity and trying to raise as much publicity as possible. So that's wonderful, and thanks to everyone at Mind, and thanks to all of our community members for supporting the campaign. Well, a nice day again, but we're expecting some thunderstorms tonight, so I shouldn't really be overly optimistic for what is to follow, but nice and warm, proper summery type of weather. Been up and about. Yesterday I had a very, very good stroll, had a very good dinner. It's a lengthy stroll, takes about an hour to get to the neighbouring town if you're walking at a kind of fast pace, and really just wonderful, enjoying the fresh air and the nature, the animals. And there weren't that many people around for some reason. I'm really surprised, because generally the Riverside Walk is busy with people going up and about, and there's just one of those days. People probably went to some event which probably was held somewhere else in our vicinity, but I was not aware of anything of that sort. So really enjoyed my stroll, enjoyed the weather, and for somebody who is spending recently quite a lot of time indoors, it's been very soothing. I need to do this more frequently, and indeed I shall be pursuing these kinds of walks on the regular basis, not just at night. I need some sunshine, vitamin D and B, and all of that. Not many news emerging. It's funny because all of that discussion last week has been about Microsoft and Xbox and all other things which are related, but initially there was this huge wave of dissatisfaction coming from community members as well as developers and various participants really related to the video game industries overall, worldwide, globally. But I think everyone's been a bit resigned after that. It was like an initial wave of dissatisfaction and anger, and then you had a lull, and still quite a few podcasts and industry hubs are discussing the reasons for that, which are as yet still fairly unclear. And I just, need to wait to see what other facts and figures are to come out of Microsoft in order for us to base our judgment. As far as Destiny is concerned, there have been some messages coming in here in response to my stream, and I want to thank everyone for sending us those messages and taking time to write and communicate and share some of your thoughts with us. I was talking about Onslaught in our last gaming session, and I had two messages coming from Joel and from Joshua, both from the US, saying, yeah, we also noticed that Onslaught was more difficult since the last weekly reset. And they said, well, what kinds of weapons did you use? What kind of armor you're wearing? And, boys, I cannot tell you, the armor I'm wearing is randomly selected. I use the mods in order to make it as powerful as possible. And I've changed my armor last week because I want to masterwork some of the pieces in my inventory, and that's exactly what I've been doing. So that's been progressing quite well. I picked up an Ascendant Shard, and I was able to level up one of the pieces. So as you can see on my Guardian, I'm kind of going up and up, and that's quite good. So generally the idea is to be grinding and then masterworking some of the pieces. What do I masterwork? The best pieces, as well as those that are linked to seasonal content, you know, like a full armor linked to the Season of the Witch, and then you want everything masterworked and then stashed in your vault, and you keep it forever. Don't forget the abilities can be adjusted by the mods, and keep an eye out on your mobility, your strength, your resilience, your discipline, and, you know, just make sure that your Guardian is as powerful as possible. It will not really always have a major impact, but for certain activities you will definitely notice the difference, and depending on what activities you like the best. And coming back to our friends and the question about, you know, the Onslaught. Onslaught is an activity which is tied in with Into the Light event, and they did say that there will be changes from week to week, and there are going to be some increments in terms of how difficult it will be for us to be getting through it. I think most of the times they talked about Pantheon, a bit more difficult bosses and situations that are sort of harder to defeat, but I think the same approach I noticed in Onslaught. I did find it to be more difficult. Incidentally, the last stream, which we did have, did not have even a single playthrough that would complete 50 rounds on Onslaught, and that was surprising, because we weren't just walking through it previously. It was difficult. We managed to get to the round 50, and in this instance we were eliminated towards the end. I think we had about 3 or 4 attempts, and the best one was taking us to I think it was level 39 or 40, where a very large number of heavily armed knights attacked us all, and unfortunately all of us died. We did manage to protect our generator, but we died. And so yeah, I observed this, and that's my impression. Maybe it's to do with us not doing enough, or being perhaps a lot weaker or more incapable compared to the last week. I don't know. You know, take a pick. Tell me whether you also feel that Onslaught had become a bit more difficult. I'm not 100% sure. But I felt very strongly that the reason for us not being able to complete was to do with the waves, and the waves were having a few more very powerful enemies that indeed were getting added to the generator to us far too quickly and were hard to kill. Used exactly the same weapons. I had you know, Crimson, which is doing the job quite well, and then my rocket launcher, which I picked up through the collection of platinum loot, and they seem to have worked fine. But the rocket launcher had been also tampered with to a degree. It was not changing the rounds as fast as observed previously, and I thought also the radius was weaker. That was just my impression. I was able to eliminate so many enemies in the course of the previous week with the same rocket launcher. I was astonished with how powerful it was. And you know, sometimes they do that to some of the pieces, and it will make some of the gameplay a bit more interesting, I guess more challenging, and it will make you swap your weapons and armor. They always said that we do not want people to be doing exactly the same every single week, and I'm one of those people who is really a creature of habit. I like to do the same thing, and I don't really switch things too frequently if I feel that my armor and my weaponry is good enough for certain tasks. And obviously you will know how certain pieces really work for you in the arena, particularly if you're playing the game with some of your friends. And anyway, I'll leave that to yourselves, and you need to take your decision whether you think it is considerably more difficult and challenging. If you're finding it tricky, then you can always resort to 10 rounds and collect some of the loot, but guess what? The loot is not going to be as massive, as great as the one you're picking up after the 50 rounds, for the obvious reason. And I think the idea was to make it a bit more worthwhile with better quality so-called platinum loot, which you would be scooping after you defeated all these bosses and the nasty enemies in 50 rounds. So yeah, generally I'm still enjoying it, and I have had no volunteers to join Pantheon, so therefore I was not able to do Pantheon even once, and a bit disappointed, I've got to say. And also tried accessing some of those lists through Fighting Finder, but they've not taken me in. I've gone to some other squads and they just rejected me, maybe because my light level was not high enough, or could have been some other contributing factors. I mean, there are quite a few people there who are familiar with my channel and the streams, and a lot of people do not want to be live on air, and that's also one of the reasons. But anyway, I'm hoping to muster a group of people who will want to join me for some sessions of Pantheon. I want to try them before the whole thing ends, and I'm sure it will come back in some other format. It's, you know, that's a carrot and stick type of approach. We are ending everything on the 4th of June, therefore we need to play it until then, and then it sort of resurfaces at a later stage. As it is indeed a very, very popular activity. You'll know that Nightfalls and raids have been always the most popular parts of Destiny, particularly for the gamers and our friends who are more kind of competitively inclined. And so that's really all about Destiny. And how's everybody? How are you guys doing? What was your weekend like? What did you do? Did you also go for a stroll? Perhaps you played football. Maybe you've gone out somewhere else, had a nice meal in a restaurant Saturday night. Bring us a message, tweet us, tell us what you are doing, and be very, very glad to hear. And also, most importantly, tell us about the games that you are presently engaging with, the ones that are keeping you occupied and busy, the ones that are giving you that degree of satisfaction. And perhaps you discovered some titles, the ones I talked about. Maybe you tried some of those yourself, or maybe you dug up some other beauties which we are not aware of, and make sure that you ping us a message saying, go and try that game, it's amazing. And I'll look at it and say, oh, I've never heard of this, I definitely want to try it. And it turns out to be even better than in your description. So we want to see a lot of that. One question again coming from Mary. She said, I quite liked your recommendations. I tried A Short Hike, and this is a really great game. What other games are you playing at the moment? Any other recommendations? Well, to be fair, I have played quite a few. I've told you about Celeste, Cassette Beast, and all the other ones. Open Rides are completed. I have started out on Broken Age, and that's Tim Schafer's game, which I really like, and I think really ideal for anyone who wants to play games which are family friendly and designed for all ages, and funny characters, and, you know, like a family environment, and beautifully designed. I just love Schafer's games with those quirky characters and, I guess, interactions that remind me of certain animated films, but also, I guess, brought to the present day and age issues, like for instance family issues, and you will learn a lot about these types of relationships in some of his games, and overall they're hilarious. The dialogue's funny, and you will have a lot of fun. So I just played a bit of it. I've not really gone deep into Broken Age, but you know, the game I really played a lot is Little Kitty Big City, and I have told you a lot about it in the course of the last week. I really like the game, and I really find it to be highly enjoyable, and it's a game that gives you lots of achievements if you're on Xbox, so definitely I recommend it. You're basically a small kitten that loses away right in the beginning. You get the kitten sleeping on a ledge in a tower block, and then she falls off and then can't really find a way back, and is meeting lots of different characters, animals of course, around the city in order to get back home, and therefore there are lots of adventures for you to enjoy, and lots of tasks and puzzles which you will need to be untangling and resolving as you carry on. So very enjoyable, and like I said to you before, similar to what I've seen in the animated films of 1930s with Tex Avery and with Richard Fleischer in particular, the cartoons where animals impersonated humans, and you had lots of real life situations with those chums, turn them into caricatures, and also entertaining everyone through funny dialogue and interactions which people would have experienced in day-to-day life. So very, very good, and definitely highly enjoyable, albeit maybe a bit short. And then Have a Nice Death, which is a platformer. You're playing Mr. Death, who's the CEO of that enterprise, and needs to be dealing with some people who do not want to come to him. And no wonder, nobody wants to be an associate of Mr. Death. Very humorous, well designed, and thoroughly enjoyable, with some hurdles which are quite tricky and you may be replaying it a bit if you are wanting to do it on a hard difficulty level. Then I played A Little to the Left, which is a puzzler. So it's just puzzles. You're resolving puzzles and leveling up throughout the game. A very unusual game. I've never played anything like this on Xbox. I'm surprised that they introduced it. But I guess it's a game that's like to be easily played on tablets and Android phones. You know, you can just put this puzzle back together, the bits, and then you will be getting all the rewards. So definitely very good. Rewinder is the other. Highly recommend it. It's funny because the story of Rewinder is very complex. It goes back in time, go back to ancient China. I need to do lots of supernatural occurrences, and then you have various characters who are directing you towards the supernatural and the legends and the past and history and all sorts. Very, very basic graphics. They look a bit like Space Invaders, but the dialogue is very, very voluminous and overall a captivating game. I have to say, I was a bit apprehensive after seeing the trailer for it, but definitely a game that will make you think a lot about China and those characters, and you will be definitely fully brought in. I told you about Kona. Kona I'm playing as the main game at the moment, and they just released the second installment last week, which also came out on Xbox Game Pass, and Kona is very interesting. It takes place in Canada in the early 70s with a detective who's been hired to investigate some misdemeanors in the local area, which is fairly remote, north of Quebec, and then he discovers, you know, all sorts of supernatural activities taking place, murder, and all other types of incidents which he's trying to kind of untangle. So interesting, but I have to say, it did feel to me at times as a game that wasn't really worked through properly in some parts. The difficulty there for me was, well, first of all, you're driving through an area which is full of snow, driving through a snowstorm, and it's quite hard to see where you're going. And all these places which you need to find are basically in that snowstorm. So it's very easy to miss out on a poise box or a sign or anything. And the difficulty I had with this was that items which you need to collect and keep in your inventory in order to progress in the game, some of them are quite poorly labeled. So after completing literally everything in various locations, I'd come to, let's say, the location number 5 to discover I need a magnet, and I didn't have a magnet, and I had wire and I couldn't really put it together. So to look for this magnet was so barely visible at the back of one of the buildings in, let's say, location 2. So that was annoying, and there's no fast travel, so you need to be literally driving all the way back and exploring the area and trying to find out where such item was hidden or displayed. And it wasn't just a magnet, there were several other items. The one which was hard to find was a piece that will need to go to a snowboarder. And, you know, it just didn't seem to me that they thought about the frustration that will build up, which indeed has been the case with me. Otherwise, a good story, and certainly a kind of a game reminding me of the 90s and point-and-click activities where you are just basically collecting different items, exploring different buildings and different locations in order to unpick the mystery. And that works really well. So, you know, there are ups and downs with the game. I'm curious to see what they've done in the sequel, because the sequel is an extension of the same title, but it does have a lot more activities. So I said to myself, as I've seen the sequel come out on Game Pass, I'll do both games at once, as I tried Kona in the past, and I kind of left it for various reasons. I never completed it. I never gone really very far, and in this instance we are going to be completing this one in full. So I can recommend it. I think it's an enjoyable game for people who like point and click, or resolving mysteries, or, you know, like a detective game, but it does have a bit of spice, lots of supernatural and sort of weird activities, weird ongoings in that neighborhood. And then I've had a look at a game that I played in the past, which looks really splendid on Series S, and that's Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Josef Fares' game. You'll be familiar with his co-op games. Terrific, really enjoyable and highly entertaining. Yet it's a game with a message. He always has something which is so connecting for anyone who is a gamer exploring his world, and just definitely recommend it to everyone. Evil West just had a quick look at. It turned out to be visually better than expected. Very curious to see what I'll be doing in there. And Lightyear Frontier as well. It's a game preview, and it reminded me a bit of what is it called? The the space game, the big one. That's just gone blank. Anyway, it's a game in which you are being transported to different planets, and then you need to start out fresh, because on Earth there's been no more facilities for people to live, and everyone had to migrate to different planets. So definitely interesting, and still have not really looked into it as much in order to give you a verdict or review similar to Evil West. But definitely these are the games on my console. I will carry on with them. And then the game I'm playing quite a lot in the course of this week is an adventure, a stroke puzzler, and that is the original Tomb Raider Definitive Edition. So it's from 2013, and I'll give you a bit of a rundown on the game if you're not familiar, because the sequel was the Rise of Tomb Raider that we had enjoyed since about 2 or 3 years ago, and I played it on PlayStation previously somewhat. But this game, Tomb Raider from 2013, I did have on both consoles, and I've never really played it. It was always there, on the back burner for me to get on and have a look, and for whatever reason I just didn't manage to get to it. So I'm really enjoying the gameplay. I think it's really good, and I think for everyone who is a fan of the Uncharted series, you'll find it to be very good and very interesting. And they have the Definitive Edition on Game Pass at the moment, which means you can be doing lots of unlockings of all kinds of items, be it videos or concept art or slides or whatever. It's like lots of different things which you will unlock, and that's very appealing. And I've got to say, I had a look at some of the items that unlocked, and they're all mouth-watering, so it's really good stuff. I will be giving you some of that on my Twitter with screenshots. I did take quite a few yesterday and the day before, and they're all coming soon. It's just that I didn't manage to really post any of that today. And very easy to walk the character and to use everything which you stumble upon as you carry on with the exploration in this sort of weird mystical world located in an island in the middle of nowhere, and really properly remastered and done. It looks very good. It looks like a next gen game. So I was really astonished by the gameplay quality, as well as with the story and the characters and everything else. Very excited to have played it, and I still carry on. I've gone through maybe 35% of the game, and it was created by Crystal Dynamics, and it was published by Square Enix's European branch, so it comes under the banner of Square Enix. And I generally found the game to be immediately captivating. It begins, well, in a way which is similar to what you have in the sequel, and it's like a huge disaster that takes place. In the sequel, they have a plane crash. In this one, it's like a big ship that sinks, and then you end up on this weird island. So right from the beginning, you are sort of gripped by the activity and the adventure which comes across from the main character, Lara Croft. And you have the first installment in the survival trilogy, which is reconstructing her origins and her relationships with her dad and the past. And that's the 10th main entry. It was actually a reboot of the original Tomb Raider series. So it came out on all platforms at the time in 2013, and you're really kind of focusing on survival, and you're exploring this island, and you have various items which you can unpick and tackle. You have tombs, you have lakes, you have settlements, villages, and all sorts, and lots of enemies which you'll also encounter as you carry on with your adventure. So it's the first game in the main series to have the multiplayer, and then the first game in the series to be published by Square Enix as well. And you know, they're very enjoyable. So they had worked on the game as they completed Tomb Raider Underworld in 2008, and then instead of doing a sequel, they thought, we're gonna reboot the series and we'll establish the origins of Lara Croft. And so that's very similar to what you had in the old game, Tomb Raider Legend. And they end up on this island, which is called Yamatai. And so Lara in this instance is not battle hardened. She's never really been tested for any form of combat, and compared to some of the other titles that you tried previously. And they have a group of very nasty enemies in there which are trying to eliminate her, and they're run by some sort of nasty malevolent cult. And you had Camilla Luddington giving the voice to Lara, and she was replacing Keely Hawes, the actress that was indeed present in some of the previous installments of the series. And then generally, when the game came out, it had a huge critical acclaim, and everyone kind of praised the graphics, gameplay, and Luddington's performance as Lara. And then you had praise about characterization, and really well built and portrayed, and the relationships are really quite interesting. And then the single player elements were received very well and praised, but the multiplayer, as is the case with lots of other single player games, were not embraced, and sadly that's the way it stayed ever since. So it sold quite a lot of copies, and altogether initially it was 14.5 million units, and that made it the best-selling Tomb Raider to date. And actually lots of people consider this one to be the best. So if you are comparing, if you're wondering what the other installments were like, we'll just step in, and it is now on the Game Pass, so you can obviously try it on a subscription price. In addition to that, you can purchase it on a very low cost, and generally this game was offered quite a few times through both PlayStation and Microsoft Store on a very, very low price, so definitely worth catching and then keeping forever. So they remastered the game, so it looks a lot better compared to the old, and released it as Tomb Raider the Definitive Edition. So that came out in January 2014, and then also it came out for Windows in April of 2024. So that's just literally now, and it does have improved graphics, have some downloadable content, and as I said, the sequel was released a few years later. It's in November 2015. I see. For whatever reason, I assumed that it came out a lot later than that, but nevertheless, The Rise of Tomb Raider was released in November 2015, and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider was released in September 2018. Shadow of the Tomb Raider I've not played, but coming back to my point, they also released a collection of all these three games together, like a survival trilogy, and they were offered on very low prices across the board recently, and a little while back they were offered free of charge on Epic. So if it happens to be again an offer on Epic free of charge, make sure that it ends up in your inventory. Yeah, so basically, like I told you, you have Lara, who is finding herself on this island after a massive big catastrophe with a ship and a crew, and then they're facing all these nasty enemies. There's a weird cult that keeps running some strange activities on the island, and everything else is just your adventure and exploration. You have so many different means to which you can go around and climb and do different acrobatics, and it does have really all the very best of what you're expecting from that sort of adventure game. So highly recommend it. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I've gone, as I said, about 30-35% of the game, and what I like is the very fluid, very easy gameplay, very easy to find the items that are there to be in inventory. You can interact with these objects, always clearly labeled. You can always find them both on a map and in the open world. and the dialogue's great, the framing is terrific, it's very cinematic, so much better than the version which we've seen with Alicia Vikander in cinemas a few years ago. It's a really completely different ballgame having the game in this format, and the film was so unsuccessful, for my liking, and didn't really particularly like the one with Angelina Jolie as well years back, but some games are being transported to the world of film successfully, as has been the case now with Fallout and The Last of Us and The Witcher to a degree, and then some other ones unfortunately do not work out, and I think Lara Croft, certainly the films I've seen, will be coming into this category. I didn't really particularly like Resident Evil films either, I've got to admit. I thought they were really a shot in the dark, but the difficulty there is, these games are very much based on your experience of that adventure and the threats and dangers which they're facing. And obviously in board games you need to be surviving. It's like a survival stroke adventure game, and within the format of two-dimensional film, it's a different sort of experience. Even if you're experiencing that degree of the need for the survival, you're not an active protagonist, and you're not enjoying the quests and the tasks in so much, because as I said, I think board games are really deeply immersive and they require your attention and participation, and that's the main reason. More than anything else. And I think they didn't really work on the narrative as much. If you're just watching the story, which is very similar to what you had seen in the game, it doesn't captivate in the same way. It requires extra additions, and they want to play it safe, indicating that that's the way it's been in a graphic novel or in a game, and who on earth would want to see that flick if the story was completely uprooted and changed? I don't know. I don't think it's a wise approach. I think there needs to be that connecting link with the title, but in addition to that, there has got to be something else that will make it either similar or significantly different to the game, and at the same time thoroughly captivating for you to watch and enjoy. So that's all about Lara Croft. So in response to our friend who was asking what games I'm playing and what other games I would like to recommend, to summarize, Tomb Raider Definitive Edition is the one I'm recommending the most. I'm doing it on the Game Pass, and then Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, Rewinder. These are the three. Right? Also Little Kitty, Big City. I've told you about this already. That is a very, very enjoyable little game that you will want to play, and it's just so funny. You stroll and you stumble on upon a cat who is like a big Cheshire cat sleeping. It's a sort of marketplace on a stall, and this cat says, well, my sleep is really badly rattled because there are lots of jars of jam hiding in here at this stall, and you need to destroy all of this, and then if you destroy all of them, then I'll be able to get my good night's sleep. Otherwise I'm very excited and very rattled. I want to get to them and eat them, obviously. And then I'll tell you all about, I'll give you all the answers to your questions. Now the question that the cat's asking is about the way back home and meeting some of the characters. So, it's like a funny dialogue, and then you go and destroy all these pots of jam, come back to the Cheshire Cat, and Cheshire Cat just wants to sleep, doesn't want to help. So, a bit of a disappointing type of exchange, but really enjoyable and very funny and entertaining. So, highly recommended to everyone. Right, so let's have a look at the news. What did we get from the news hubs, and also what did I get on the wire? Well, first of all, we hear that, well, that's not it. We've heard that some of the Final Fantasy series have not been selling too well. So let me just see where these are. Yeah, they admitted that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and then Final Fantasy XVI Unformed Stars failed to meet the expectations. I have to say I'm very surprised. I think Final Fantasy generally has been extremely popular, a massive big community of dedicated veterans and fans, and everyone was buying the remake, so I don't know what the trouble was. I don't know really what the expectations were, because you hear frequently that the projected figures are telling you this is the target that you will need to be reaching, and the games are very expensive, let's face the facts, and not everyone is in position to afford them straight away. Also, there are people, and I have got to agree with this, who are fully aware of the streaming platforms like PlayStation Plus, for instance, and they will be waiting for the game to come to the streaming platform, so they don't have to pay the full price, but they will contribute with the subscription and they'll still enjoy the title once it arrives there. And this could be a serious interference with sales within the initial period. So let me just see what they described as failed expectations. So it came from Square Enix, and they said that they failed to hit expected revenue and profit, resulting in an overall hit to operating income for the business. That's for Square Enix. And they said that the launch sales of 3 million for Final Fantasy 16 after it went on sale in June of 2023, and they will need to be providing us with some up-to-scratch figures, but that was initial sales at the launch of 3 million. They indicated that the sales have been slowing down somewhat. They said it's like a lot worse for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I don't know why. I think that is an amazing game. I played a bit of that game on PlayStation Plus, and maybe people just loved the original so much that they were not interested in Rebirth. I don't know. That's surprising. I think it's an amazing game, and for me it works really well as well. But they said that the initial momentum failed to reach Square Enix's target. So I think that's coming from Bloomberg. Bloomberg were analyzing. Bloomberg were analyzing the sales, and they get the reports, and I have got a problem with this, It doesn't have to be that the game will be sold in such huge quantity on release. It may pick up a few weeks later, but they're all same. It's exactly the same with the film business. They all want to be seeing whether the capital had been returned back within the first weekend. They're just interested in the first weekend figures. They don't believe that if you're not getting it with the hype and the marketing which had been invested within the first 3 or 4 days, they'll get the money back. And the first weekend is just simply getting the money back, because obviously there will be sales in the future, and that's all a bonus, right? If you break even straight away, we make huge profit within the first weekend, everything else is a bonus, and you are going to be laughing. These are unrealistic expectations for the vast majority of such products, It's not possible for every blockbuster film to make that revenue, and in the same way, it's not possible for these games to do the same, considering the price. And considering, I guess, the threat they feel or they have from the streaming platforms. Hence, Rockstar, for instance, do not want to give most of the games to the streaming platforms or some other developers. But anyway, that's open for discussion. I think that no developer will be able to sway or avoid the arrival of the new technologies and the new means of marketing and sales. And we've seen with Game Pass, lots of people had purchased many more games ever since they played them through the streaming platform compared to the past. And the reason is simple: you played the game, you liked it, you want to keep it, and it was offered on a reduced price, and it was a great transaction. You got the game you like, you tried it, you played it, and now you got it in inventory and you didn't pay the full price. And I think that's the model that they need to seriously consider and follow through in the future. That's the way to do it, even with the older games. Huge hype about Fallout, for instance. You've seen, for instance, Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 were selling like fruitcakes, yet they were also offered on the low price, and they were offered free of charge on some platforms. Like I got my Fallout 76 for free on Xbox, and I acquired, I think it was Fallout 3 for free on my Steam. And there was also Fallout 4, was it PlayStation? It was some other platforms. So, it's been spread out as a freebie on on one of the platforms, and then you could also acquire the rest if you were interested. You want to have the whole series on a fraction of the price. And they've not talked much about Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, the old PC games from the 90s, but I highly recommend them to everyone. That's the nucleus of the game, and the concept which they developed at a later stage was developed at the time, and you will thoroughly enjoy them. It's again, it's point and click, and you collect things for inventory, and you have a lot of dialogue, and it's pretty similar to what you do in the later installments of the series, but it is limiting, and there will be a lot more thinking done about what to do, and some of your decisions will be affecting the overall outcome. I remember when Fallout 3 came out, I was astonished. So that are really incredible how they developed from the previous two titles. But it took a different direction. That sort of POV perspective on Waking and all the other things that you're doing then with a Pip-Boy, and it just seemed like a very, very good plan and strategy on how to grow the game up to the point when it's gone down the route of a live server with the multiplayer in Fallout 76. So they need to be discussing and forwarding the figures for the other titles of Final Fantasy, but generally what they did say was that the sales were not really meeting the expectations without giving us the exact numbers. They were launched as PlayStation 5 exclusives initially, and they will be now aggressively pursuing a multi-platform strategy, not just for these games but also for future titles that will be including Nintendo platforms and then Xbox and PCs. So they've gone down the route of we need to be doing everything cross-platform, because guess what? That is what is going to be giving them new customers. And you've seen with Microsoft and Xbox, they were saying exactly the same thing. Whether Sony executives will be happy with that remains to be seen, but I think they cannot be just turning their backs to the way the industry is progressing. So, and Square Enix has been going through tough times, and they absorbed about $140 million in losses, and that was to do with various projects that didn't materialize, or problems with sales, and they didn't really name the titles which had been discontinued, but there have been a few, and I guess there's been a mismatch between the old school and the ideas that people did have maybe a few years back and what is required today. And don't forget, there are some developers that are not keen on having their titles on streaming platforms, and that could be also a very serious point of contention. Well, not sure really. I need to explore this further, but I'm surprised, I've got to say. And just like I said, they keep talking about this aggressive policy of cross-platform access for many titles, and it's possible that they'll make some of their previous titles also accessible through all platforms once the policy is cast in stone. And so really coming back to what I just said, they had several Final Fantasy games as PlayStation 5 exclusives, and we are just sort of wondering presently what are the other games that are currently made or planned at Sony Studios, and so what are the other exclusives basically for PlayStation 5, and they had first of all Helldivers 2, which turned out to be a huge hit critically and commercially. And then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is one of the best RPGs, but we've heard it has not performed financially too well. And then you have both Rise of Ronin and Stellar Blade launched, and both have been selling very well, particularly Stellar Blade, huge hype about the game, and we introduced it here, talked about it, and the controversy about the outfits and the aspects of the lead character's femininity really, I guess, just complemented the marketing strategies. They really facilitated the sales, and the game had sold extremely well, and lots of people are still playing it today and streaming as well. And then they said that generally these exclusives were really like a bright light, and many people enjoy these games, and they raised the bar for the company compared to a kind of a malaise with layoffs and kind of cut down some studios in all sorts of ways. So they were talking as well about the release of PlayStation 5 Pro, and I honestly, personally, cannot see the reason for it. I think the PlayStation 5 as it stands today is just an amazing platform for both gaming, social networking and streaming. It has everything at your fingertips, and to a degree even better than Xbox when it comes to the actual ease of use and the way menus are integrated. So if you have it, there'll be no need for you to be getting that Pro. I'm not sure even what that PS5 Pro would have as an add-on, as an extra. Hard to tell. So really one of those games that's hotly anticipated is Silent Hill 2 Remake, and Bloober Studio or Bloober Studio in Poland is working on this, and I played their game Medium as well as the last one in this was Wonder Gears of War that also worked on, and there's huge expectation about this game as these guys are huge fans of the original series, and I've listened to them a few times on podcasts, and they talk about the game with huge enthusiasm. So I'm quite certain that they probably are the best developer to work on it. So Death Stranding 2 is as well one of those games that is hotly anticipated. They released the Director's Cut on PlayStation 5 and on PlayStation Plus, what's it called, the Premium, and looks amazing. I played it; it's just really so much superior to what I had on PlayStation 4, and I've not gone through the whole game on the Director's Cut, but I'll do that once I have enough time. And Death Stranding is a game you need to play continuously, otherwise you lose thread and you lose interest. And you know, Hideo Kojima's masterpiece, really, really wonderful game, recommended to everyone, and so everyone's very anxious about the sequel, and they're wondering when the sequel is going to be coming our way. Then we have Marathon. That's another game coming from Bungie, and there had been some anxiety amongst the Destiny veterans about the game, considering that this is a PvP style shooter, and they thought that perhaps half the studio will work on Marathon and get withdrawn from Destiny. That was like the end of Destiny. It's just all speculations and rumor, complete nonsense. Marathon is reworking of the old game they had right at the beginning of their kind of studio career, and it's a PvP straight through and through, you know, without any cutscenes or any extra dialogue or open world like in Destiny or Major Big Galaxy, any of that sort. It's just simply PvP through and through, two teams fighting each other, and I'm curious to see how this would all work. I've not seen any of it yet, and there have been some elements of concept art dished out, and they're keeping it under the wraps, and I think Marathon probably is likely to come out within the next 12 months, and likely to be also initially PlayStation exclusive. So so let's have a look. They said that there aren't many other titles advertised, and they said that PlayStation Library is, or PlayStation Plus in fact, is a strong place to try out some of these games. Some of the exclusives are there, and Naughty Dog's release, The Last of Us Part 2, was one of the biggest Sony releases of all times, and it's a company that also created the Uncharted series. So the question is, are we going to be getting any more of Uncharted, any more of The Last of Us? And so they really have not talked much about it, and at one stage there was a discussion whether The Last of Us 2 should be multiplayer, and they had cancelled the project. So they already had confirmed that they're working on the next big title, but it's neither been confirmed or denied that this is connected to any of the past projects, so we are not sure whether this is The Last of Us 3 or whether there's some other game. And you know, Druckmann and his team there at Naughty Dog, they're very good in keeping everything under the wraps, as we've seen. Sometimes it works for them, sometimes it slightly backfires. We've seen that story of Joel and the rumor that was spread prior to the release of the sequel, but eventually the game sold in fantastic fashion, so you know, they made the bucks, and the game is still one of the most popular video games ever made. But coming back to that, as a developer, the greatest strength is in creating both the characters and the environments which will make you identify with those protagonists, and that's critical, I think, for survival stroke horror game of that type. If you really feel for the main character, you feel her pain, you feel for the tragedy which had befallen upon her and her family, you will identify with her, and therefore whatever happens will be affecting you on the deepest, on a fairly deep personal level, and that itself is a huge bonus. They're really very good in doing this, and in the games of Naughty Dogs I played, that was always the case. And well, we need to see. Then you have Santa Monica Studio. You know that this is a studio that worked on God of War, and they created God of War Ragnarok, which has been very successful ever since it got released in 2022. And then they had also this Valhalla DLC, which was given for free to everyone. So what's next is under very big question mark. And Cory Barlog, he was the director of the first game, he migrated. He's gone to another project in 2021, and you have Eric Williams taking over, and he's gone in to do Ragnarok. So that new project, which they mentioned, is on the books, but we don't know already what title it will have and what type of game it is going to be. So I don't think we can expect any God of War new titles in the near future, considering the successes of the first two games and all that's been said and done. So, you know, hard to tell, but there is a title which they're working on. One way or the other, we may be in for a surprise. PlayStation State of Play is just about to be launched, and we are going to be getting some more information from them regarding not just that title, but all that is to follow and all that is to come from PlayStation. They talked about the change of operation policy, and you know, they said they will be changing direction. So we need to see a bit more from the company in terms of facts and figures as to what that actually might mean. Then Insomniac Studios, Insomniac Games, I should say, is the studio which many consider to be probably the best or the most prolific amongst those that Sony owns. And you would have played Spider-Man and Ratchet and Clank and some of the best games, as well as Marvel's Spider-Man #2. But yet again, they had similar problems to all the other developers financially, and quite a few people laid off. And then they had also some data breaches and thefts taking place. So Wolverine game is the big title that they're working on, yet again aligned with graphic novels and comic strips, a bit like the other ones, like Spider-Man. And they are not to be expected before 2026. And we've seen some ideas on Venom. This game may well be arriving before the latter in 2025, and they're not really likely to be releasing anything in the course of this year, but you never know. You never know. They've gone down the route of doing the games based on graphic novels, and they're doing very successful. In fact, I'm playing Spider-Man 2 at the moment, and also played Miles Morales. Really, you know, beautiful games, wonderfully designed, and the New York of these games just completely different to anything else I've seen in video gaming. It's so beautifully designed and recreated, and so alive, and so kind of true to core in every way that you just don't even want to play the game. You just want to walk the streets and enjoy every one of those shops and cars and, you know, locations, cinemas that you see there. Just beautifully designed games, and no surprise that they're so successful. Also, the way you're jumping using Spider's Web and is very easy to use. It's a very smooth, very easy to learn gameplay. Although I have to say that there are some elements of gameplay linked to combat and fighting that I find a bit tricky. But once you kind of learn the very basics, then it's quite easy for you to advance, and I'll recommend it to everyone, of course. So Sucker Punch is another studio which has been very quiet ever since they made Ghost of Tsushima, which is a masterpiece, and the Director's Cut is now coming to PCs. So the Director's Cut also you can access on PlayStation Plus, so just make sure that you try it. It's one of the best games that Sony ever made, and they're talking about a sequel, but they've not really confirmed any details, and I'm quite certain they're working on a game that's very similar to Tsushima for the obvious reasons. They're Guerrilla Games, and that's the studio that made a hugely successful Horizon Zero Dawn, and they had Horizon Forbidden West with followed up with a DLC which is called Burning Shores, and that's also blending in very well with the story and everything else we played and tried with the lead character so far. And then you have a capacity for that to be extended, so they're talking about creating a Horizon game which is going to be a multiplayer, and that's currently in the works. They have not said anything about the dates. And then there will be also a question of another title in the series, so very curious to see what will come from this Netherlands-based studio in Amsterdam, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yeah, but I think they also have a branch in America. I'm not sure really. I don't want to give you the details if I'm not fully kitted up with knowledge, and that's definitely not the case, because I've watched some of their streams and their developer diaries, which were based in Netherlands. And you know the way these companies are, when they grow they have their affiliations and offices elsewhere, but the base is definitely in Amsterdam, and it's a game made in Netherlands for certain. Housemarque, you have Returnal, which I played, a very good game as well. It's a Finnish studio, and we are wondering what their new game is going to be. And the only thing we kind of learned about the studio is that the Returnal director, who's been with the company for 14 years, had recently departed, and which was surprising. But they're apparently working on a new title, but still, similar to the other studios, have not told us what the title is going to be. So we have Firewalk Studios, and that is a studio that's actually listed a game for 2024 release, and that's Concord. So Firewalk are making Concord, and Concord is a PvP multiplayer, which is a shooter with a retro-futuristic sci-fi aesthetic. And we've seen the trailer, which looked pretty good. And in addition to that trailer, we've heard nothing. So, I don't know. We're expecting it to come out in 24, but let's wait for that state of play coming from Sony to get more information on the studio and on the game as it goes. It looks pretty good. Lots of PvP games coming out, I have to admit, because we have like two different trends. One is inclined towards PvP and hammering in death matches, and then the other is RPGs and single-player games. And we have quite a number of titles, I'd say, coming in abundance from various studios on the latter front. But PvP always will be popular for the obvious reason. Lots of people who like competitive gaming, we want to really jump in and explore these new titles with new maps and new gameplay. Haven Studios. So Fair Games is the game made by the Haven Studios, and it's a competitive heist game. So we have seen a CGI trailer for the game, and they've not given us any dates on when the game is going to be released. So the president of Sony, Hiroki Totoki, said he was reducing the number of live service games due for release before March of 2026 from 12 to 6. The reason for that is they don't own the equipment or the service which are necessary. I know there's been a discussion between Microsoft and Sony about cloud, so I'm not sure how far these discussions have gone, but there has been certainly some word on their partnership in order for Sony to be able to use Microsoft's cloud services. And you know, the maintenance of live service games is horrendously expensive. So unless you have the population that comes in similar to Warzone, Apex, Destiny, and Elder Scrolls Online, it is just too expensive to run. You're not making the money, you're sustaining losses, and that's the main reason. So a huge success of Helldivers, of course, and they will be investing in these sorts of games. I mean, no doubt, really. And then you have, let me just see how many studios. So some other studios. It's quite a lengthy list of studios, I must admit. Bend Studio is the studio that made Days Gone, which is also a very good game. And they're working on a new game. And it will be similar to Days Gone, but we do not know exactly what the story is going to be like. And, you know, just few details revealed. We are working on a new title. It's similar to this, but we don't want to tell you anything else. We'll just keep it in suspense. Media Molecule is working on Dreams, and that's the game that's been talked about for quite some time. And the game that's been released in 2020, but live support for the game is going to be ending shortly because it's too expensive to run. They're not getting many enough participants. And then they said Dreams transitions into a self-sustaining platform is the next thing. So I'm not sure how this would work if you basically pull the plug on the live service. I'm not sure. It needs to be seen. But Dreams has been very popular at one time. I remember watching some of the reviews. Team Asobi has brought everyone's favorite little robot Astrobot to traditional VR platforms, and it's been around for like 12 years. So previously part of Japan Studio, they are now a standalone studio, and Astro's Playroom has been their greatest success. So they've not really told us much about the future projects, but it will be Asobi's biggest title to date. So that's been confirmed by the director. Bluepoint Games, that is the studio that made Shadow of the Colossus and Demon's Souls remakes. So Sony acquired Bluepoint Games as a first-party studio 3 years ago, and they've not said anything about their projects, so that's kept under the wraps. Polyphony Digital is making Gran Turismo for 25 years, so probably likely to carry on with the series. San Diego Studios, they're not saying anything about their new titles. And then Firesprite have been working on virtual reality games. So they worked on Horizon Call of the Mountain for PS Video Virtual Reality 2. So what will be the next game has not been confirmed. And so that's probably more or less everything that IGN had been able to unearth about the first-party PlayStation games. But the fact is, you know, there are titles that shall be announced during their next showcase, and that's State of Play. We have heard recently that the showcase is more or less likely to be imminent, and they will be trying to contrast the one coming from Microsoft and Xbox. That's also at the beginning of June. So I'm not sure about the date. I've not received the date yet, but it will be more or less very, very soon. Basically, there's a huge anticipation about Grand Theft Auto 6, GTA 6, and that, they said, is looming on the horizon for 2025. And just a bit strange that they're choosing Rockstar, but, you know, huge company with massively successful games. And then all the other titles are just under the wraps, so very, very hard to tell what the future will hold for these Sony-based studios. On the other hand, if we are to be positive and forward-thinking, they also said that they will be focusing on cross-platforming, and they'll be progressive. And recently I had some news indicating they want to be following the path that's been paved by Xbox. So will there be more cooperation between the two giants? Will there be exchanging titles? Almost certainly. We've seen that take place already. We've seen Sea of Thieves, the proprietary game of Xbox and Rare, emerging on PlayStation platforms and accessible by PlayStation 5 through PlayStation 5, say. And so there probably are going to be some other titles exchanged as well. Right, so I think that's probably all I have for you today. And we'll be back tomorrow for a lot more, with more news and everything else. Hope you guys enjoyed some of these ideas, which indeed have been coming to my desk. I'm very excited about some of the titles. I'm looking forward to see Days Gone 2, the next installment of God of War, the extension of Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm curious to see what will be coming from the Naughty Dog Studios, you know, whether it's going to be another The Last of Us or something else. I'm excited about Marathon. I want to see what that's going to be like. So, you know, there are some titles, but, you know, at the end of the day, I think our gaming community is becoming a bit greedy and maybe a bit spoiled. There are so many titles, so many games coming out at all times. And, you know, like when you look at a box, you want to wrap your presents or you want to put some of your belongings in the box. You need that many spaces in the box. And that applies to us all. We can have any streaming services, but there's only that many hours and minutes in a day for us to play games. And the danger is if you're becoming oversaturated, then the interest drops. And I have heard from friends and colleagues that they got really fed up with Netflix and Amazon Prime because sometimes they'll sit there and browse through the titles for about 45 minutes without being able to decide what they will be watching next. So, you know, that's the other downside of having that much choice. And the way I tackle it is by making lists and making priorities. And you know exactly what you want to be watching at what time. And everything else needs to wait. You simply can't engage it. You can fleetingly have a look, but then that's about it. You need to engage the titles that really are captivating, that you want to try. And then the other thing, which I recommend to everyone if you're asking yourself a question, is to create like a seasonal type of list. So you will want to play adventure games, so choose certain types of games, 3 or 4. And always make sure like 3 or 4, 2 are blockbusters, which are massive, and you play them for days and weeks. And then take 2 games which are smaller, that you can really race through within a short period of time, a couple of days or so. Don't overload yourself with 10 heavyweights. That will never work. You will not be able to focus on all the titles, and you lose thread, and you'll find yourself frustrated and disappointed. I've learned that many years back, and I also had, live in a global capital. You have plenty of choice, and you go to a shop, there are all these titles in there, and I say, I'll buy this one today, and then I'll play this up to the point when I've finished it, and I'll come back and buy something else. And that stayed with me. Although sometimes I also drift a bit and go to, voluminous lists and have a difficulty in saying, I really feel like watching this today. But then don't forget, if you have the lists which are based on seasonal content or like seasonal concept, then you can always click on that watch later and select a few titles which you will watch later. So you don't have to be going through the list again. What's on watch later needs to be polished off first, and then you come back to the rest. Anyway, just some thoughts, some tips on what you can do if you're facing that choice paralysis, as they call it, and if you are approaching the streaming platforms of PlayStations and Microsofts and experiencing that sort of difficulty. I find it very easy. Anything that comes to Xbox Game Pass, I'll have a look straight away on the day, go on cloud and run through it for a bit to get flavor of the game, and then I'll pick and choose. At the moment I have 4 or 5 small indie games, and I have 1 blockbuster. It was Andromeda until recently. Now it's Tomb Raider, and then I have to go back to Starfield. Want to try and see what they provided us with after that update, and I want to go back to let me think. Mass Effect. I said I was going to play as Female Shepherd, which is what I've never done. And then I have Diablo. Diablo is on Game Pass, and I played it during the alpha and beta tests, and I played a bit of it, bit of the game when it got released on Xbox. But I need to really spend more time on Diablo and enjoy the content. The new season just kicked off, and get fully sucked in to experience all that some of my friends and colleagues have been talking about. So that's the list. These are the ideas, and this is basically the end of our news. So thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being our dedicated community members, and I kind of look forward to seeing you back again. Yet again, just want to remind you, we are supporting our charity in Britain called Mind, that's helping people with mental health problems, and I'm trying to raise as many donations as possible, raise the profile for the organization. So if you're out there, if you're a gamer, somebody who is experiencing some sort of emotional difficulty, psychological pressure, or a major mental health illness or mental health problem, make sure that you donate, because your donations will be received wonderfully by everyone who works for Mind, and most importantly, everyone who is a service user will be very, very grateful for your participation, and you are going to be making sure that these services can carry on and then evolve and develop in the future. Right, so that's all really. Well, thanks for watching, thanks for following, thanks for clicking on all these follows and likes and shares, and thanks for supporting the charitable fundraiser. I wish you all a very good day, and I shall see you all tomorrow, and take care.